putting soldiers first. The mission, of course, is important, but if we don't take care of our soldiers, then we're not going to meet mission.
Welcome to the BLUF podcast, where you get the bottom line up front and we won't waste your time.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the BLUF Line. Again, I am your host, the Command Sergeant Major Juan Jimenez, and we are here to bring you another episode of some great information. Again, there has been talks of different people that we'd want to bring on to interview, different subject areas you'd like to talk about, and by all means, I want to give you my number so you can reach out to me if there's something that's of interest out there that you guys would like to listen or would like to be on this show. My number is 256-876-5331. All right, so here we go, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the BLUF Line. Again, it is the bottom line up front, and it's another means of communicating out to you guys, our listeners, and bringing you some needed information, especially through this pandemic, finding new ways of reaching out. And to me, this is another way, another facet to reach out to you guys and bring you some great information. Well, we have another special guest on this show today, and it is our very own HHC First Sergeant here at Redstone Arsenal. And, I just want to thank her before she gets started, and I give her the mic to say a couple of things as we dialogue back and forth. Just to introduce her, I'd like to say thank you to First Sergeant Erika Vargas for coming on to the podcast so we can get a little bit of a perspective from a different leader. I think it's going to be a great show today with us. And without further ado, I'm going to let her take the mic and say a little bit about her background.
All right, Sergeant Major. Well, I want to start off by thanking you for having me here today. I'm really excited to join you today. So a little bit about me. I'm actually a native of Mexico City, and I was raised in Southern California. I joined the military in July of 2002, so I've been in about 18 years now. I started my career at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I was basically a division baby. I stayed out there for a very long time. Completed about 5 deployments back-to-back with division. I served anywhere from any other brigades or division staff, also Sustainment Brigade and JSOC. So after those assignments, I made my way here to Arsenal, where I was assigned to Army Material Command for about a year, and then I got offered this opportunity, which I'm completely blessed and happy to be part of. And here I am. I have 2 daughters, a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I definitely stay busy. That's about it.
Awesome, and I think that is great. And I tell you what, that from my perspective, she is a tough leader and a great mentor to us here at Redstone Arsenal. She is shouldering a big job as the HHC First Sergeant. I'm sure everybody is coming to her for answers here because she does take on a big job, not only as a parent, but also as a leader here. And I can tell you that she's airborne qualified, and she's got an 82nd combat patch. So I know she's a tough individual out there, and she's able to answer any questions you guys got for us as we go through this podcast. I'm going to be asking her some questions. So by all means, what do you think, First Sergeant, your role as an HAC First Sergeant is?
Well, as a First Sergeant here at Redstone Arsenal, I have to provide company level leadership. We have 18 tenant units that we support. So we provide regular company functions with administrative actions, training. I assist the commander for any legal matters. So a lot of the stuff that we do, it definitely affects the workforce here at Redstone Arsenal, specifically with anything in regards to command programs, such as Army Emergency Relief Program. We got anything with ACFT. There's a lot of training and personnel that we need in order for us to make mission and make sure everybody's trained up for that.
Awesome. Now, I would tell you that when I arrived to Redstone, it was a little bit of a different dynamic. And I know you had been here a little bit with the Army Material Command already, but there's not too many soldiers, but there are some, and there's a lot of civilians that run around the arsenal. But my hat is off to you as you continue to work with the soldiers that we do have and the dynamic of the civilian workforce. That's something that you always dealt with?
Not at all. I'm used to having more so as company level, being a platoon sergeant and that sort of thing. So here at Redstone, it was definitely a different environment, and so a lot of we basically take care of all the incoming and outgoing service members, and so we want to make sure we take care of them. And being that there is only about roughly 800 service members, we want to make sure that they feel they have the support of a company commander, a first sergeant, that there is leadership out there, rather than just feeling alone in their little cubicle because they don't have those dynamics. They don't have a platoon sergeant. They don't have someone that maybe can be that mentor or that guidance.
Most definite. And I would tell you that that's one of the reasons I wanted to kick off this podcast, not only informational, but for our soldiers that are either here on Redstone or wherever they may be stationed can tune in and hear some information from senior non-commissioned officers. A lot of times we hear a lot about the officers, but I want to ensure that the soldiers can also tune in to hear from their senior non-commissioned officers as well. And like you being from Fort Bragg, and I recently came from Fort Hood, so real soldier-heavy locations to coming over here. I always want to ensure that our soldiers that are here are being heard, and also know that there are some senior NCOs here that are willing to help them out too, along with our civilian workforce.
Absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely. With saying that, what are you most interested in leaving your mark as a HHC First Sergeant?
Definitely has to do with caring for others. As a leader, as a non-commissioned officer, any civilian, contractor, NCO officer that I had to come in contact with, I want them to look back and say, First Sergeant Vargas took care of me. First Sergeant Vargas care for not only personal actions when it comes to admin and making sure their pay is correct, but also as individuals. So I definitely aim for that throughout my career as well.
That is awesome, and and it just really goes along the lines of being a non-commissioned officer in the United States Army. From the moment that you put on the E5 sergeant stripes or even corporal stripes, and become that leader to now as a first sergeant and myself as a command sergeant major, I think the care for soldiers is really big. I was just kind of wanting to see if there was anything as far as an NCO perspective that you would like to talk about. Any lessons learned that you might have gotten from coming up in the ranks of a sergeant all the way to a first sergeant?
I think I would stick to the whole, we're so mission oriented. We always try to make sure that we make things happen. But the one thing that throughout my career that I felt that it was just absolutely necessary to understand and just kind of live by it is putting soldiers first. The mission of course is important, but if we don't take care of our soldiers, then we're not going to meet mission. And so with that, I would say as a leader, I always take I say emotional intelligence, being able to not only know your soldiers and know what their strengths and weaknesses are, but also know your own and how you come across, whether it's dealing with our service members, our contractors, our DA civilians. We need to make sure we know that we are fostering the correct environment to make sure we're taking care of them.
Yeah, you're right. And, I would tell you that we're not born leaders, right? I mean, it's a process that we learn, and it's through making small mistakes and taking different directions, and learning from our past leaders that shapes who we are today. So there's really no wrong answer. It's really, like you said, taking care of people, taking care of soldiers. And that's what we ultimately want to do, I feel, as non-commissioned officers, to ensure, one, when we leave it better than we received it, right?
Absolutely.
And then also at the same token, take care of soldiers and mentor someone to take our position as we begin to move out.
Yes, and treat them as like everybody, anybody can be a leader. It's not, it really is not based of just rank or position. I mean, you could have a PFC have those attributes that are part of that makes a leader. And so if we respect them regardless of their rank, if they feel respected and feel like they matter, then you can get more accomplished.
Yeah, that's really neat. And I want to, just say thanks for the insight that you gave us and gave our listeners out there on what you think and what kind of mark you want to leave as an HHC First Sergeant or just a non-commissioned officer for the United States Army. And that is a big responsibility that you shoulder as an HHC First Sergeant. And I'm sure that your commander out there, just like all commanders, really rely on their senior NCL to ensure that they understand the pulse of an organization, understand how things are shaping to ensure we look at what direction a unit needs to be going. And I think we are that person that helps drive that motivational factor and that awareness factor for our commanders. I mean, I know you talked a little bit about physical fitness when you mentioned the ACFT as you were talking about some of the duties as a first sergeant. So I would tell you that as a first sergeant, you guys are, along with the rest of our non-commissioned officers, are pivotal in ensuring that our soldiers are physically fit. As a first sergeant in HHC, how do you see the physical fitness test, now called the ACFT, shaping out for us?
Well, I think it's promising. I have a lot of our soldiers here very interested in making sure that they are fit, that they're meeting the standards, and so I don't have to run around and try to convince them to do anything. They're utmost wanting to be prepared. So I'm really excited for the service members here at Redstone to score high, to put that effort, and be successful with this new ACFT.
Good. I mean, with that being said, I know when we start to begin to roll the ACFT out, we didn't quite have all the equipment needed to start to train, but as non-commissioned officers, we think outside the box. We make mission happen. We look at different ways to accomplish the mission. What do you think is one way or one facet that you started to use to begin to train your soldiers or yourself while the equipment was being fielded out?
Well, I definitely changed the way I was training myself. And we do have personnel here at Redstone that are Master Fitness qualified. And so a lot of the times, they will come together and we just try to create a plan for specific personnel that they're, if they need to train for, if they have injuries, we'll modify like their training schedule and just different exercises that we can do without having to have equipment. Pagano, we have the gym here, so a lot of the stuff we do there is free weights, regular strength training, and so to meet those requirements, you don't have to have the equipment. Right. You can modify certain things, and so for me, I completely changed. I kind of started going away from running every single day and start implementing other things like squats. I did V-ups, I included the rower, the elliptical. There's so many different things you can do without having the actual equipment. And so a lot of the soldiers did that.
Right. No, I think it's important to know and understand that you can still train without having the actual equipment because, as you kind of mentioned, back in the day, we used to do a lot of running. It was always about running, especially if you were at Fort Bragg. We did a lot of miles, and at Hood, we did a lot of miles too as well. But when we start to roll the ACFT out, we had to look at different ways of ensure we kept our physical fitness up, but also began to build some of those muscles that we didn't normally always use, a lot more core style muscles, like you mentioned, some of the deadlifts and some of those things. And, I would tell you that going from the push-ups, sit-ups, and 2-mile run to now a 6-event ACFT, which most people that are in the Army know about. But if you're not and you're a listener and, the new Army Combat Fitness Test has 6 events now, right?
Yes, Sergeant Major. And the most failed event is the leg tuck, specifically for females. So it's very important that you put that effort and that training time to build your upper body, your abs, your to be able to pass that specific event, and even short and small frame personnel like myself, that deadlift can be quite a challenge. So there's a lot of those things that this ACFT, you won't be able to pass it if you actually don't put the effort to get where you need to be. When we used to take the APFT, I mean, you can really roll out of bed and take this test and you'll be good to go, at least meet the minimum. But with the ACFT, it's definitely a process.
No, I think it's like anything. A soldier's good at adapting and overcoming, and I think with this new ACFT, I mean, we just got to take that perspective on it, and we will adapt and overcome. We'll train towards that goal. And you guys, when I'm talking about us as non-commissioned officers, first sergeants, all the non-commissioned officer corps out there begins to lean into how do I train my soldiers in this 6th event, one being the deadlift, and you got the standing power throw, the hand release push-up, the sprint and drag and carry, the leg tuck, and then the 2-mile run. It's important to incorporate what's out there and use your field manuals and regulations to help you steer a good training plan.
Yes, Sergeant Major, you have TC 3-22.20 that you can check out for any ideas. Also, we have you can download the ACFT app, which has just how to conduct an ACFT. And there's also the website, the Army Combat Fitness Test.com, that you can go in there and it gives you plans and just an overall view of the ACFT.
No, that's awesome. And as most service members know, that the ACFT officially became a service test of record October 2020, right?
Yes, Sergeant Major.
Have they talked about when it will start to be an actual record ACFT yet?
Well, the APFT is supposed to be the record test until 31 March 2022. And so with that being said, we're looking at the ACFT to be the record, to be actually record during that time frame, the same time frame. For now, service members will use their current APFT for any administrative actions, such as NCOERs, OERs, schools, any kind of training. That is what we're still holding to use.
And first, I just want to say thank you for giving us a little bit of insight of your background, your role as an HAC first sergeant, and just some things out there with this ACFT, some things that you have done to change, to adapt to the new way of testing, and the rollout time for the ACFT, and when it's being looked at for becoming a record for the soldiers out there. I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about your leadership and your perspective on leadership. We mentioned earlier that we're not really born leaders. We kind of learn. It's a process. I've always been told, and I don't know if you share that, but I've always been told as I came through the ranks, you take the good stuff from different leaders and you put it in your rucksack, and you take the bad stuff and you kind of toss that out. So when you get an opportunity to become a leader, you've gathered all the good stuff, and it allows you to shape yourself into the leader that you would want to be. And I just want to see what your perspective is as leadership is concerned.
Yes, Sergeant Major. Like I said earlier, the whole emotional intelligence or interpersonal skills, I think, goes a long ways when you're dealing with your soldiers or just your team. And with that, we are supposed to influence others we gotta motivate them to accomplish the mission. And so if we provide the purpose, direction, and motivation, we'll make those things happen. And again, knowing your soldiers, you know it, personalities, and knowing their family dynamics, just getting to know those soldiers goes a long way on itself. And so to me, leadership is being that leader that is caring, that is willing to put that extra effort to make sure that those soldiers are taken care of, the mission it happens.
Yeah, well, you're spot on. I think that's pretty neat, especially coming from our own HAC First Sergeant, the ability to see the perspective of your leadership and what your take is on it. I would tell you that it is important that we continue to talk. Again, this is one venue to push out information, but it is important to talk to and reach out to young soldiers out there, young leaders that are beginning to start their leadership journey, or even someone that's out there that's thinking about a career change or thinking about doing something different and possibly even becoming a soldier in the United States Army. What do you think you'd say, or what made you think about being a soldier back then, 18 years ago, to join the United States Army?
Well, Sergeant Major, I can honestly tell you that when I first had thoughts about joining the military, I was actually about 10 or 11 years old. And I made it as my mission to join. Then my brother joined before me, and he seemed to enjoy it. He thought it was quite hard. He was actually stationed at Fort Bragg himself in the 82nd, and he was telling me, "Don't do it, don't come in. It's really tough, it's really hard." And I was like, "Well, life is not always going to be easy, so I'm going to stick to my plan." And when I joined, it was a culture shock for sure. But I think the Army offers so many great opportunities for those soldiers or those future soldiers, and so it really is like anything else in life. You make it what it will be, what you make it out of it. If that makes any sense, So.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you shape how you want your future to be. Even though there's a lot of structure as a soldier in the United States Army, you shape how fast you progress, how slow you progress. You shape how physically fit you want to be. You shape how much education you want to get under your belt. I mean, you have that ability, and I think a lot of people sometimes that are not wearing the uniform might not know that, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that you were able to reach out like that, because there might be somebody out there that's thinking about joining the service, and it gives them opportunity to see, well, maybe I'm in the same type of shoes that you were in, and now I can, or maybe it'll help me make a decision.
Right, and I think the military, it's a great organization where you can shine no matter what gender, race, color, none of that stuff matters. It's like what is how you are as an individual and the goals that you set for yourself. So I think that for those that want to join the military, I mean, as long as you are willing to put the sacrifice and the effort to be successful, I think it's a great move.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing is easy. You have to work for it, and if you're not willing to work for it, it's not going to come. I mean, you have to work for everything you earn, everything you're willing to go out there and reach for. In any occupation you get into. And I would tell you that here, being on Redstone, it's really given me that other perspective of seeing how hard the civilian workforce works right along with us green suiters to accomplish the mission, and that's to continue to support, defend the Constitution of the United States, and that is truly a mission that not only us green suiters take on, but also the civilian workforce. And that's really come to light being here as a Garrison Sergeant Major for Redstone. But in closing, I just want to say thank you, First Sergeant, for coming on to the podcast and giving us a little insight about what you do down there and your day-to-day actions and how you came to become our HAC First Sergeant. Just any little closing remarks that you might have, and we will close out.
Well, Sergeant Major, I want to thank you again for having me here today. I really appreciate what you do for Redstone and having this podcast. I think you just having the ability to reach out to other soldiers, other civilians, contractors out there that all around the workforce, I think is awesome. So I just want to thank you again for that opportunity.
All right, team. Well, thank you for listening in and getting first on Erika Vargas' perspective. We want to thank you for chiming in again. Again, reach out to me if you want to hear some different people on the podcast or different areas that you would like to talk about. Again, stay Army strong, and thank you for listening in.